If you look at where we can host our containers, there are multiple places where we can go. For example, where I would like to start is with Amazon EC2. At Amazon, they have this notion of the EC2 container services where we can host our containers. EC2 uses the DCOS operating system, but in a customized form. The DCOS environment is provided by Amazon, and they also provide a way of doing some of this uh, in a platform as a service way. So they manage, for example, the master nodes, and you need to keep track of your own agent nodes and do the patches on that. Now we also have the notion of Google Container Engine, which is on the Google Cloud. The Google Container Engine uses Kubernetes as the cluster management orchestrator. So you can very easily use Kubernetes on the Google Cloud. Now, of course, we also have capabilities in Azure. So in Azure, we have the notion of Azure Container Services. And Azure Container Services provides the ability to use either DCOS, Docker Swarm, or Kubernetes as the cluster management operating system. So you can then have a choice on your own. What Microsoft is more or less doing is providing you an IaaS service, because it's more like infrastructure as a service, because once you spin up the cluster, you need to manage the operating system of the cluster, so Kubernetes, DCOS, or Swarm, yourself. Now the other alternatives in Azure are that you can use Azure Service Fabric. In Service Fabric, we have Microsoft's cluster operating system that is also used to build the cloud itself. So if you look at SQL Server, for example, Service Hub, and other parts of Microsoft Azure, they're all built on Azure Service Fabric, but it's now also made available to us to host our containers in there. Last but not least, we can also go to Azure App Services. And in Azure App Services, we can also now host containers if we want to. So it's a fully managed platform, and at the moment it previews Linux containers, but in the future we expect there to be also Windows containers that we can host. So there are multiple options for you to host your containers, either on-premise on your local machines, of course, for development, and then we have the Amazon EC2 environment with container services. We have the Google Cloud Container Engine. We have Azure Container Services, Azure Service Fabric, and finally Azure App Services.